RWBY Chibi episode 21. Now this episode kind of went back to the smaller segments, especially the first two, where it was just like, you know, they have Weiss and RWBY. A lot of Weiss and RWBY I felt in this episode. But they have it, you know, RWBY puts the handcuffs on and it just ends there. And it was like, all right, that was a funny little joke. I knew something silly was gonna happen. I was like, yep, handcuffs, of course. And then I think my favorite one was probably, well, my favorite like of the really small ones had to be the checkmate thing. That was just really silly to me. I was like, okay, that was just funny. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was like, all right, they're playing chess and stuff. And then Weiss and Blake just like fly into the room. And what I liked about that, outside of it being really funny, is actually that the animation was interesting because we don't really see them actually fight, you know, in this. So like the movements that they have, like them actually breathing heavily, I was like, that's interesting because we've actually never seen them do that before. So it was kind of weird. It was like, it was very fluid movements compared to, I guess, them just walking and stuff. Or like when they normally jump around, it's kind of like they just move. They basically teleport really fast, and that's pretty much it. So I was like, that's interesting to actually see just on a visual level. It just looks different because you actually see them breathing. Plus, maybe it's because it looks so weird because, you know, of course, it's the Chibi version, so they have like the big heads. But you see that they're breathing, but it's like mostly their heads are just moving. Like every part of them breathing is just their heads bobbing back and forth. So that also made it a little funny to me. But I like the way it looked. But remember, that was the third skit. So the second one, once again, was Weiss and RWBY. And it's Weiss writing her letter to Winter, which I love that. I was like, oh, that's cool. They at least mention Winter. So normally when they even reference somebody, they tend to show up in the next episode. I kind of doubt it because I think that might be a bit of a stretch for them to, you know, actually add Winter in the next one. I would love to see that, but might be a bit of a stretch this time. Normally it's like, you know, you actually see the people or you hear the voice or something. But, you know, they mention her and stuff, and she's writing the letter. And it's like, you know, she's interesting, and of course we see a reference to, I can't remember the episode, but they actually, if I remember it, they did that before with RWBY having like a turkey and, you know, kind of messing with Zwei. And I think it was when they went to, I want to say it's when they went to the abandoned city in Volume 2, like towards the end of Volume 2. If I remember right, that was like one of the jokes that they had, is that she actually had like, you know, the turkey on the site. So that was kind of a cool little callback, and it was funny in itself just to see. It was actually a little bit funnier in Chibi form because it just looked different. So then we have her trying to, for whatever reason, her and Cookies, now instead of eating them, she wants to inhale them through her nose. But I like the way they played around with that. And, you know, Weiss is just like, all right, she's definitely interesting, and she's also a person. Like, so specific. She's a human. She's alive. So I like how silly they made that. And then, of course, we have the ending, which was definitely my favorite out of the four pieces in this episode, for sure. And I think it was my favorite because of Mercury, to be totally honest. Like, it starts off, once again, it's RWBY and Weiss. I don't know what the deal was with the RWBY Weiss stuff in this episode, but it starts off simple as like, hey, we got invited to, you know, play around with Cinder. She said something. Honestly, I could not tell what the heck RWBY said in the beginning. It sounded like she just said a bunch of words that blended together, and then she was like, Cinder, and I was like, I know what she said right there. So they go through like her last name and stuff, and when they do all the different skits, it's like, all right, each one was silly in itself, but Mercury had like my two favorite ones, because when they did Cinder Falls, and they just have Mercury just laughing like crazy, I really enjoyed that one. The one right after that was the Cinder Doll one, and he says the nefarious plans things, which I like that they keep repeating that a lot every time she shows up in the Chibi version. And then the last one I really enjoyed, and of course Junior Detective was one of my favorite things, even if it wasn't like, that wasn't the bit, still really awesome. And they just made it really silly. We got to see Neo again, and you know, she's distracting them and stuff, and then when they cut back to, you know, you see the whole room, and Neo has like the giant laser cannon from the last episode. You can see that Emerald is like, she's shaking her head, no, like, you know, don't shoot them, and Neo's freaking out like, you know, I'm gonna blast them. But Mercury, if you look at him, he's like trying to push everything in the closet still, but he's like, you know, he's just shaking his head. He has like the evil grin on his face, and I love that. It was just really funny. It was, you know, really simple. He's either laughing really, really hard, he's making fun of her with the doll thing, or he just wants, it would be super stupid, of course, that's kind of what makes it even funnier, is if she shot that cannon, not only would she hit Cinder, which would be, you know, detrimental to their plans, but that would just be a huge disaster in general. But I really loved that one. The world peace one, I can't remember. I think it was Cinder Balls. That's what it was. That one I really enjoyed as well. And we just get to see everyone doing some really silly stuff. They have the shopkeeper dude, and he's like sweeping at first, and then he throws it, and it looks like he's just like headbanging at a rock concert because he's just like throwing his arms up like that. And I was like, that's really funny to me. I think it was Jean and somebody else. I can't remember who it was. Jean was with somebody else, and they were both dancing. But that whole thing I thought was just really silly. And then of course, we actually do get to see Roman in that one. And he just like kind of kicks the ground, like, man, you know, it failed again. But I really enjoyed that last skit. And then the way they ended with Ruby, she's like, I don't know, her name's like Cinder Autumn or something like that. Who cares? That was just a nice silly one too. But I did really enjoy this episode. I like the smaller skits. I was really surprised because I mentioned before, it seems like they kind of decided to go the route of, you know, here's just 3 skits. They tend to kind of share the length. One, of course, would be the smallest one. But we actually got like some really tiny ones. Like, you know, the very first one was almost like, I feel like that had to have only been like 10 seconds long. And it was just like, all right, it's done. And then they went on to the next one. So certainly enjoy that. I like the idea of, you know, every once in a while we get some of the much smaller ones. It was still funny. I didn't really like the first one nearly as much as I liked the other ones. But I almost dropped my remote. That's why I jumped for a second. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was like a nice, super quick, small laugh. And that was really, you know, all it needed to be. That was kind of it. And then, you know, the other ones definitely helped it because I really enjoyed those. And like I said, especially the last one, which certainly was the longest of the 4. But really good episode. I like getting to see the characters we don't get to see too often. So it was cool to see Neo again. It was cool to see Roman again. I was surprised he actually got less than Neo did, which was really surprising to me. But it also makes sense because she could hide in the school. Just, you know, if you watch the actual series, you already know that Roman can't just walk around in a costume and, you know, not be known. So it made a lot of sense that Neo would actually be in the room with them and stuff like that. Even though it's the Chibi version, they can do whatever. We just had the other episode where Cinder had a Beowulf, but it was like the size of a puppy. So it didn't, you know, they can do whatever. It's the Chibi version. It's not canon anyway. But I certainly enjoyed this episode. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know what you guys thought about the Cinder one, because that was, like I said, that was my favorite one. Mercury was awesome in it. It still managed to incorporate what is currently my favorite bit that they've done, which is the junior detective thing. And I love the part, of course, Cinder talking to Sun about his abs, and he just looks up at Neptune, he's like, ha ha, and he, you know, it was just silly like that. So, of course, I love that one the most, but I definitely want to know what you guys thought about it, because we got to pretty much see everyone in there as well. Like, when they did that, I think there were only, like, a couple of people missing. Like, out of everyone that we've actually seen in the Chibi version so far, there were only, like, maybe 3 or 4 people missing. I feel like there wasn't a lot of Team Juniper. I know Jean was there. I remember Rin being there as well, and I can't remember if Nora was the one dancing with Jean or what the deal was, but I don't think Pyrrha was in there, and there may have been like, I think that was it. I feel like it was only like 2 people missing out of like all the characters we've seen in the Chibi version, because we got all the villains as well, you know, towards the end, but I feel like there were only like 2 characters missing, or maybe it was just one, because somebody was dancing with Jean, and I swear I can't remember who it was. Actually, it may have been RWBY. That might have been who was dancing with Jean, because I know the rest of Team RWBY was doing like the little thing where they were hopping, and maybe Zwei wasn't in there. I think he was though. Like, that's what I feel like, one person may have been missing, or I just missed them and wasn't paying enough attention. But like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about that final skit, and you know what you thought about, you know, this entire episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.